Hi everyone, welcome to the February 2021 edition of Farsight's Human News, the remote viewing news forecast that tells you what is going to happen, not what did happen. I'm Courtney Brown, Director of Farsight. Now before we begin, let me tell you about our next major mysteries project that will be coming out on February 15th. The Galactic Federation of Worlds. That's right. There have been cracks in the mainstream of late regarding the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Some official people are now talking about it. Now, those of you who have been following Farsight's activities know that the Galactic Federation of Worlds is a real thing, a group of planetary civilizations that seem opposed to the fascistic orientations of the Orion and reptilian groups. We have already done lots of projects that have touched on those less than positive elements, but now we are going to show you what we have regarding the Galactic Federation of Worlds itself. No longer will it be a nebulous thing that we reference but don't really define. Now you will see it up close, personal, with all of its glory and its warts. It's a huge project, and I really think that everyone in our audience will want to see it. February 15th, in about 2 weeks, only on FarsightPrime.com, our streaming service. Now, before we go further, let's summarize what happened last month with our Human News program. It is a really interesting story that I have to tell you. As you probably know, January was a banner month for our Human News forecast. 4 of our remote viewers described a major disruption in an urban area, one that included political as well as military involvement. It looked like a capital city. Chaos, trouble breathing, most likely due to tear gas, dangerous activity, urban destruction involving a central structure that looked a lot like a wide Capitol building. Crowds, non-surface structures, including ospreys, weapons caches, and, well, the works. Now, 2 of our other remote viewers described what appeared to be presidential inaugural activities. So the take-home from the January forecast was a major disruption in an urban area, plus a presidential inauguration. Well, pretty much immediately after posting our Human News forecast for January, I took off for Africa, where I had some important stuff that I had to attend to. And there I was, in my hotel in Nairobi, at the check-in counter, talking with the hotel staff, shooting the breeze, when I glanced at the television on the wall of the lobby, and I saw the storming of the United States Capitol building that was happening in Washington, D.C. I could not believe my eyes. The place was coming apart. All of the Africans near me were also looking at the TV as well, wondering how this could possibly happen in America. Then, as the month rolled on, more details of the events started to emerge, including the strategic placement of weapons caches well in advance of the storming of the Capitol building, bomb-laden trucks, National Guard responses, even Osprey aircraft. And then the inauguration happened just like the forecast said it would happen, despite the prior disruption. Well, after getting back from Africa, which was quite an adventure in itself, given the exploding worldwide pandemic with the new virus variants popping up and official travel rules changing seemingly by the hour, I realized that we had a problem at Farsight. The forecast was so good in January, I worried that someone may think that we knew something about the month's events in advance, like we might have been in on the thing. That type of problem has happened before with some remote viewers who report their results for criminal cases to the police. Sometimes the results are so good that the police suspect that the remote viewers were in on the crime, which is one of the reasons that we at Farsight do not do criminal cases. Anyway, so I had to do something. Since anyone can label anyone a conspiracy person for whatever reason, and conspiracy people are being kicked off social media often these days, I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that we at Farsight play by non-political rules. So, I decided to use my January intelligence briefing to convey the basic parameters of Farsight to any listening audience. More specifically, I made it especially clear that the Farsight Institute is an IRS-approved nonprofit and that we are totally nonpartisan. We do not and cannot support any political party or politician. Also, I felt it was necessary to spell out that I was in Africa when all the stuff in Washington, D.C. happened, and that we were as surprised as anyone else when we saw the events. Now, no one accused Farsight of anything bad, but I felt it was better to be safe than sorry. I also discussed how the coronavirus is mutating rapidly, and that vaccines have trouble with rapidly mutating viruses, so the best defense might be the rigorous use of masks while the vaccine developers work out the bugs. Well, all this really upset a bunch of people in our audience. No one put two and two together. A whole lot of people who are opposed to masks and vaccines attacked me bitterly in our forums for all sorts of reasons. Oddly, absolutely no one asked what I was doing in Africa, especially at this time, and some questioned why I should spend time telling people about my holiday, which was surprising to me since I never take holidays, and going to Africa in the middle of a worldwide pandemic is certainly not something one would normally do for a holiday. Well, the entire episode was an amazing and perplexing way to top off one of the most amazing months. You see, there is a real practical reason why we at Farsight are not interested in getting involved in any nation's contemporary domestic politics here on this planet. Our only mission is to convince a very skeptical world that remote viewing is real, and as a consequence of our explorations, that the extraterrestrials and their activities are real as well. From our perspective, it doesn't matter which domestic political persuasion wins or loses, when the real vice grip on humanity are extraterrestrials whose manipulative influences you don't even see. Moreover, remote viewing is the only way the activities of the extraterrestrials can be uncovered. Many of the things we show you are not even known by our own governments, and when human audiences get all riled up about domestic politics and different sides point and call each other the enemy, the real controllers are smiling from ear to ear, if they have ears and can smile, that is, when one group of humans angrily yells at another group of humans and the two sides square off. The real controllers have you where they want you. As long as you fight among yourselves, you don't have your wits together enough to see the real controllers and what they're doing. You are like groups that form within a prison system, thinking that it really matters which group dominates within the prison. In the end, your energies are so consumed that you spend no time trying to dismantle the prison itself. They have you within a very complicated death trap system. When you see any major event or set of events throw the entire planet into turmoil, be it because of a war, a disease pandemic, an economic collapse, or anything else, you can assume that the crisis is real and that in one way, shape, or form, the extraterrestrials who do not have humanity's best interest in mind have something to do with it. And if you could magically resolve the turmoil, you would find that another major world-gripping crisis would emerge in the blink of an eye. And on it would go without end. The not-so-good ETs don't care about you, not even a little bit. All they care about is keeping you under control, and they know that the only way that their control can be challenged and ended is by revealing it. So the only important thing for us to do here at Farsight is to end the secrecy. Humanity's liberation begins with the end of secrecy. Nothing of importance can be done without the end of that secrecy. Nothing is more crucial to the fate of everyone on this planet than that. The secrecy must end. It must end. Well, here we are, February 1st, 2021, and we have yet another human news forecast where everything we report is obtained using remote viewing. The only thing I can say at this point is that remote viewing is really interesting, and I can only assume that soon the entire planet will be busting at the seams wanting to know everything there is to know about it. And all of you, our Farsight audience, have front row seats. Moving on, our Time Cross project is being restarted in a few days. We are doing it a bit differently than in the past. This time we are going to release each remote viewing session separately, and the videos will be called Time Cross Singles. That allows us to space the release of the videos for each Time Cross session out over the month, and it also allows our audience time to reflect on each viewer's individual session before moving on to the next session. We have 2 new remote viewers who will be featured in this show, Intisam Goldsmith and Shantae Gibson. They did their intensive training during 2020 and are now ready for prime time. They will be joined by the senior remote viewer, Melena Hall. Now, the series is being produced by PrinCess Jeaneé, and I assure you it will be a big hit among our audience. The topic of the first episode of Time Cross will be the apparition of Mary that occurred to 3 shepherd children in Fatima, Portugal on the 13th of May, 1917. So, stay tuned to FarsightPrime.com. We will announce the release of each session in our newsletter, as well as in the notice to all subscribers of FarsightPrime.com. Now, the show will be in English on Farsight Prime, of course, but we will post French and Swahili content for many of these Time Cross episodes on YouTube as we continue to reach out to an international audience, so stay tuned. And remember to meditate. You can find videos on how to meditate on our website, farsight.org. Also, for those of you who want to learn how to remote view with an instructor who can both teach and give you feedback on the application of the methods and techniques, remember that PrinCess Jeaneé and Trudy Benjamin are both separately teaching Farsight's version of remote viewing. If you are interested in personalized individual and group classes, you can contact them at princessviews@gmail.com and info@trudybenjamin.com. So here is a summary of the major stuff happening on FarsightPrime.com, our streaming service. On FarsightPrime.com, you get all of our major releases, past, present, and future. Plus, we have the monthly extraterrestrial news show, Farsight's ET News. You also get the Farsight Intelligence Briefing hosted by myself, and this intelligence briefing is live streamed and you can join and ask questions live. On the 15th of each month, we publish our next major mysteries project, and in February 2021, it is the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Also, multiple Time Cross singles each month in English will be published on FarsightPrime.com. Additionally, on FarsightPrime.com, we have our monthly economic forecasts. These monthly economic forecasts give us a window into the larger picture of the developing human drama, so they are relevant to everyone, not just investors. The economic forecasts are being done by Aziz this year. He's an expert in the application of Farsight's economic forecasting methodology, and you are going to see that passion in the new releases, so stay tuned. Also, our SECO program, working with cryptocurrencies, has turned out to be notably successful, and we are increasing the output of our SECO forecast in 2021. It is all very interesting and exciting stuff. Information relating to our SECO forecast can be found on our website. One more thing. We have been trying to find a way to express to our audience some of the sci-fi-ish feel of what we do here at Farsight. Now, what we do is real, not science fiction, but our reality is often more out there than most science fiction shows dare to go. Well, one way we have been experimenting with is to create still graphics that convey some of the otherworldly nature of our work. We have created an Instagram account that is specifically dedicated to these out-of-this-world graphics. So you can find it on Instagram if you search for Farsight Prime. Most of these graphics have been created by our graphics designer, Kiara Allison. So check it out. Go to Instagram and search for Farsight Prime. We are uploading more stills constantly, so you will want to follow us on Instagram. And again, how do you hear about these things so that you can participate and get the latest when they happen, including our live streams? Well, to start, we use our email list and YouTube to make our major event announcements. So there are 2 things you need to do. First, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and remember to click on the notifications bell that appears after you subscribe. That is the only way YouTube will notify you of the new events, especially our live stream events. Just subscribing doesn't do anything. The notifications bell is the important part. But that only notifies you of things that we release on YouTube. To be notified about the things that we release on FarsightPrime.com, which you can watch using our Apple and Android apps, or on the web, you need to subscribe to our free email newsletter found on our website at farsight.org. Be sure to do both. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Farsight, and remember to click on the notifications bell, and also subscribe to our free email newsletter that you can find on our website. The links are in the description area below this video. Those are how we announce what we do. We never send out spam, and we never give our subscriber list to anyone else for any purpose. Also, you can enable notifications in the settings for our Farsight apps so that the apps can notify you of new content whenever it is uploaded. Remember that our research indicates unambiguously that we live in a universe with multiple timelines. That is a real fact, not fantasy or science fiction. The science of how that can be is largely fleshed out, even if the majority of mainstream physicists have not yet wrapped their heads around it. So, in a situation of multiple timelines, there is no single future that we can identify and describe, since there are an infinite number of past and future timelines. But there are averages, so to speak, across a distribution of timelines, and our viewers have been highly accurate in forecasting the general nature of the news events for each month, even if there have been some differences in the details. So keep watching each month and see if you can resist the realization that remote viewing is real and truly need to know. And with respect to all of our work here at Farsight, it is what you need to know. Now let's move on to this month's human news forecast for February 2021. Remember, we could always be wrong, and all remote viewing must be seen as an experiment, not as a certainty. But look at the data for yourself. Make your own decisions, and then let's watch the month of February roll out to see what actually happens. We have 5 remote viewers who participated in this month's project: PrinCess Jeaneé, Kahmia Dunson, Trudy Benjamin, Aziz Brown, and Melena Hall. These reports are amazing to watch, and it's best if you just watch them yourself, without me trying to explain them in advance. So let's begin. However, I will return after all of the reports are presented to help pull everything together.
I seem to have blue trees. I seem to have some foliage. They seem very pine-like, kind of in a sense, or just very vast. Here. Kind of a mixture of trees. And land. Mountainous environment behind with structures about. Also seems to have a bit of a structure fill in the back of this. Here. Maybe city near a large natural environment. I feel as though I'm having some water. I love these colors. Water nearby as well. So I have water, foliage, structures, mountainous environment seemingly interchangeably mixed about. In the midst of this, I have what appears to be a terrain here with a lot of, again, foliage, multiple, just extensive foliage here. My Picasso trees. And this is all kind of blending in. This is all kind of blending in here. With the terrain or land here in the midst of what looks like a forest, ducked forest. Here, land. I see structures or subjects, just lots and lots of subjects here, an extensive amount of subjects with, again, this mountainous terrain here and the city structures. Land, more foliage. There seems to be this haze over here, just very, very hazy, energetics going on, fire-esque. All of this seems to be kind of interchangeable. Fire, I'm just gonna write the word. Fire here, smoke, burning, smells, subjects all around, water, structures, and just a bit of chaotic energy. With a city nearby. Reminds me of a forest fire.
Okay, first thing I'm seeing is a lot of level topography. It looks like pretty flat land, and then it almost looks like a corner of some sort. I see this structure that is kind of sitting on this corner as well. It's kind of like, but it's like a couple of structures all sitting here on the corner. And then for some reason as well, they kind of feel like they're all connected. So it's just kind of like this feeling that it feels almost like a very large structure that has different components to it. And it's kind of sitting on this corner of some sorts. I also have like foliage just around these structures. It looks like placed, foliage, kind of like foliage that just sits on like the side of the roads. And then there's a lot of subjects here as well. So these subjects there's like a lot of them on the base surface outside. It looks like they're all kind of like just scattered about. These are all subjects scattered about like outside of this building. And it feels like a focused gathering, and it feels kind of like they're all kind of focused right here in this structure. At the same time, it feels like this whole crowd of subjects, they feel almost non-reactive. They feel like they're all of their attention is being taken up by something, to the point where they're not really free thinking. It's more like they're all just paying attention to one thing and focusing on that one thing. So for my second visual, this one I see there's like a single subject here, and right next to this subject is like a lot of energetics. So it's like, okay, I see the level topography again. And I see those structures I was talking about as well. All right, so it's like, there's this one that's just way, way bigger than all the other ones. It's kind of sticking out like that. But it's also connected to like all these other ones. Just imagine a big massive building of like smaller stores inside or around it, you know, kind of like an outdoor shopping center, like outdoor mall, or like a really big, huge structure that, you know, has multiple things for it. So anyways, you know, this is here and I can see it. And then I've got that subject here. So this subject is just sitting right here, and they're like this. And next to this subject is like all these energetics that I was talking about. It almost looks like it's contained inside something. Like I can see this almost like hue around it, and it's just like energetics everywhere. And it's right, really like right in front or right behind, but somewhere near this big conglomerate of a structure. Got the little foliage I see out here as well still. And then this kind of just like empty lot of land that this subject is kind of on. I see a lot of colors that are like red and orange, black. The subject here feels very emotional. It feels like they are just so upset. Like I feel a lot of anxiety, a lot of emotions rushing up over this person. Like that's really all they can think about is their emotions. They're very emotionally driven right now. Another thing about this subject is that initially when I'm feeling the subject, I want to cry for them or with them. I don't really know, but I just feel this very emotional response, and it feels like this subject is not really here. Like they're so emotionally driven, right? And then it's like everything disappears. So this subject seems to be kind of like dead or no longer conscious in some way, shape, or another. And it's crazy because all these other subjects, they feel very more so alive. Like they're watching, and then this guy feels like he's he just feels different than everybody else. I'll say that. He feels way different. These people feel like they're lively, but they're watching something and they're all kind of there. And then he feels like he's just very emotional, and then he kind of like ceases to exist almost. Right next to this big, hot, energetic thing. Again, around this like bright orange red thing, I also hear like, it's weird because I see this one so clearly, but I kind of see and hear them all around me. It sounds like popping, like something's popping, and then when I hear this popping sound, I see like bursts of light, kind of like just like pop pop and then light, you know what I mean? So something is like this being shot or projected follows with energetics. And then lastly, I am getting this feeling of loss. It definitely feels like someone is losing a lot right now. It just feels so like sad. It feels so sad here. And yeah. Okay, so moving on to my next visual. I'm seeing something more like this again, where I see this like definitive corner. So it looks like something sitting on a corner or something. And then it's got this border around it. So for my third visual, I'm seeing again this sort of definitive corner thing. And then it almost looks like there's something else like around it, you know? And I see these structures as well. So there's one that's kind of sitting on the corner here. That structure looks like it's connected to like this structure, connected to this structure, you know, kind of just looks like something like that. And then I see like this in front of it, which I can't really tell. There's just something in front of this now. So like energetics, I feel like there's smoke here, but it's kind of like all over the place. Again, I sense that there is that one subject here, and the subject kind of looks like they're standing off to the side, and they're kind of like this, right? And this subject feels so much like calmer. I'm telling you, like, something feels way different than these subjects. Like, they don't feel the same. Whatever they're experiencing feels like shock, feels like trauma. This guy, he feels more like emotions, and he feels like he battles between like very emotional and very calm. Or he goes from being very emotional to being very calm, almost non-emotional. You know what I mean? So weird. But anyways, and so this subject feels that way. And I still have all these other subjects that seem to be scattered about outside of this. Outside of this structure. These are like male and female subjects. Again, this is a male subject, and I hear these popping sounds. I see these flashes of lights. I see the smoke, and all these kind of things are surrounded. There's surface structures, of course, these, but I also see smaller ones that kind of just like sit amongst the other structures that sit amongst, you know, the subjects here. So it's like, whatever these structures are, they're smaller and they're in the crowd of subjects. And then this subject is very much so like in his own world, and it feels like he's in his own space. But he is somehow connected to all these energetics that are happening here. When I'm focusing in on the activity here, it feels very disorganized. It feels all over the place. The movement feels all over the place. And then it also get this feeling that, everything is just so intense. And I feel just like stinging on my body. Like I feel like something is stinging people and subjects, or the subject. But yeah, there's a lot of energetics, a lot of smoke, a lot of popping sounds. This subject here feels like crazy compared to all these other subjects. And it's like, and now I've got these subjects out here with other structures on the corner somewhere. The activity also feels like it's just happening so quick that nobody can really get in control of it. It really feels like these people are at the mercy of this activity, of the event. Focusing on the target event again, I just feel like everything is happening so quickly. It feels like things are flying like in the air. I feel like things are flying around. I feel like there's a lot of subjects here, but the subjects are disappearing. Like the subjects are disappearing, or they're like fading away, like they're hiding or something. Like I see all these subjects, and it's like one by one, they kind of all slowly dissipate, and like they're no longer here. It feels like the energetics are kinetic energetics, and it just really is giving me these like gunshot kind of energy. Just how a gun would go off, very quick, kinetic, and like a pop. That's just kind of what it's reminding me of. And then something big is happening over here. So, and then again, like inside of this structure and outside the structure, there's like this single subject that just feels way different than everybody else. So I'm going to focus in on that subject. And focusing on this subject, you know, it's a male subject. They have on pretty like decent thick clothes. The temperature feels pretty cool outside. Like there's like maybe ice or snow here, and it's just cold. It's cold, and the subject has thick clothes on. The subject also feels very different. Like I said, mentally they just don't feel like they're there all the way. Like I feel sad for them. And I just have this very subconscious feeling that it leaves you speechless. It's a subconscious feeling that's leaving me speechless. This subject, again, feels young. They feel like late teens, early 20s, young. They also feel like they're mentally like losing it. And I feel like they feel like they're having an out-of-body experience. Like they don't really see what's going on, but they see it. You know what I mean? Just sad. I just have these very sad emotions. And this subject is making me feel sad. Like I feel so bad for this subject, but it feels like this subject is crazy. And somehow connected to everything that's going on, the energetics.
Here in this environment, I see natural land. There's multiple structures on this natural land. It's irregular topography, and multiple subjects. I'm seeing harsh structures, like a harsh environment. Something about this environment is changed or different. It's not the same. Something seems destroyed about this structure, or a structure that is here. I'm noticing mountains and hills. The land is green. There's lots of foliage. The subjects here have a pale skin tone. I keep seeing red hair color and just like chubby cheeks, like red hair and red eyebrows, rounded face, rounded body, pale white skin. And the subject seems very disappointed about something that's not the same, or something that's not here anymore in this environment. There's a structure that is destroyed or broken in this environment, and I'm noticing the subjects around the environment are highly sad about this being broken or stolen or destroyed, or like there's something about that structure that's changed. I keep sensing something about this structure being very important or historical. The structure is very large and rounded. Well, the structure was large and rounded, and I'm sensing it's a very dark color. It's made with natural and man-made materials. This structure is either destroyed or broken because of movement from a natural and
disaster or something natural causes this structure to not be the same anymore. It's a dark color. I'm noticing it kind of reminds me of a big rock, but it's made out of natural materials and it's on the base. It was on the base surface. I'm noticing the subjects nearby are trying to either deal with the situation quickly or they're just really sad about the situation in general. Something about these subjects telling me that no one personally caused this structure to be destroyed. It's just something that naturally happened or something naturally destroyed it because of the environment. I'm noticing the environment is the reason for the destruction of this structure. It's either the environment or something that's moving on the environment is the cause of the destruction of this structure. There's a lot of movement around this environment on the time of the target location. I'm noticing this structure is moving downward only, and it's like shattered or broken into multiple pieces. The subjects here are lost, like they don't know what to do next. I'm sensing this subject, the most primary important subject in this environment, doesn't know how to talk about this disaster to his people, like he's a leader or a politician. I'm sensing the environment is not, something about the environment is not valuable anymore because of this structure. Like this structure is broken and shattered and it causes other locations to be shattered as well. The structure is really big and dark. I continue to see the color brown and gray, and I'm noticing the subjects nearby all look the same. They all have the same skin tone. They're all pale. They all have the same hair color. It's very red orange, and they're really disappointed about this. There's really large hills, lots of foliage. The structure was so old, I think it naturally was going to destroy itself anyways. Or it's just like the structure was so old that it continued to just fall apart over time. And eventually it just broke. And the disaster created more of a catalyst for the movement to destroy it easier. But I have a feeling it just like was supposed to happen anyway.
For my first visual, I'm getting a structure that seems to have this bright sort of energetic flare coming off of it. Let me use another color for that so you can get a better picture of it. So it's just got this bright energetic flare coming off of a structure. I'm also getting a sense of a lot of foliage in this surrounding area. So let's draw a bunch of trees, lots of foliage on both sides. So it's a very foliage-rich area, at least in this area specifically. I'm also getting other structures. Getting like a taller structure over here. Also, I'm getting the sense that there's possibly subjects inside, as well as one or more subjects outside in this general area. And I sort of emphasize the foliage aspect of it because it just seems like I'm not entirely sure whether to call this a man-made environment or a natural environment, because the foliage level, I mean, these are definitely man-made things, but they don't really seem as much of a dominant element as the foliage. It seems like there's a lot of extensive foliage sort of surrounding this entire environment. Also, I'm getting the sense that there is a body of water that is far in the distance over here. So I'm going to draw this out again, but yeah, it seems like this is an expansive foliage environment with a couple of structures and a couple of subjects, and one of the structures seems to have this flash or flare of bright energetics that's emitting off the top of it. All right, so just from another angle, I'm getting this body of water here, just water, water, and just surrounding it, I'm getting a lot of foliage. So just drawing out a lot of foliage, a little bit of a dip there. Let's keep it going. And I'm also getting a subject. During this flash sketch, I did see a subject position himself right there. And otherwise, though, I really saw just a lot of extensive foliage, and it really extended for quite some time, just all around this environment. So it does make me think that this is a natural environment, and I did feel that this area where the subject was a bit mushier. Maybe it's a sort of a texture that reminded me of like a brownish sand or something like that. I just felt mushy, the base surface. So here, in this little divot area, actually I'll use a brighter color, this is where I started to see a couple of structures. Not like this huge amount, but I just saw a couple of structures, the tops of them peeking out over this area. And this sort of seemed like with the area where there was that one structure that had like a flash of energetics. I also did sort of hear, when I was probing for sounds, a muffled, sort of really low frequency boom, sort of like a boom type of sound. If you could just imagine just any sort of bang, like a car backfiring, but it happens very far away from you. So you sort of just hear that like really low reverberation, that little low echo of it, just like the sound, sort of the tail end of it reaching you. I did sort of get that sort of feeling. So it's, yeah, so this is just another angle of that sort of environment. We'll move on. All right, so just from a top-down perspective, I do see in this more man-made area of the environment, if you could imagine that that's a top-down perspective of a structure, and then there's a bunch of subjects, and this boom sort of thing happens, that a flash of energetics. Then I see a lot of movement sort of in one direction, and it just seems like that direction is more out this way, and the structures seem up that way, so it seems more like an exiting of the area, or that's what I'm guessing. I mean, it's just, this sort of event happens, and a bunch of subjects are just moving, and so it seems sort of hurried, rushed type of thing. If I'm going to give another, when I probed for the target event, however, a little more data sort of kicked in. And so if I'm going to draw the structures right here, there's a couple of structures, and one of them emits, and they're not the same heights, all of these things, but one of them emits sort of this energetics, this sort of boom flash of energetics. And, I kind of got the deduction of like a power plant. I'm not saying this is a power plant, but it's just, I have no data to support that it's a power plant, but it's just the idea of like, there's structures, like a man-made environment, but it's within like a very foliage-surrounded area. I was sort of thinking, sometimes power plants are in those rural-ish type of areas, or just small town or something like that. I really don't know what these structures are for, and I didn't really probe to find out what these structures are for. But I did see that these, there's a group of structures, man-made structures, and there is sort of this sort of grayish, gravelly, rough gray hue path here that goes out in this direction. It's surrounded by foliage, once again. So there's just foliage all over the place. So this is more of an aerial view. So boom, boom, boom. Foliage, foliage, foliage. And more foliage. Great, so there's a lot of foliage all around. Structures here, sort of an opening and a gray path out in that direction. And then I'm getting this sense of a when I probe for the target event specifically, Then I got this added piece of data, which I did see an angular non-surface structure earlier, but I sort of disregarded it. I just thought, like planes are everywhere. I just wrote down this as an angular non-surface structure. But it actually sort of ended up having a role here. So there's no guarantee that this is the same non-surface structure that I saw before, but I did see a non-surface structure and a very faint sort of line of like energetics. And it's almost like a translucent type of reddish, glowy type of thing. There's this energy just sort of goes whoosh, and it just seems like that's what causes this boom type of thing. And then subjects' eyes, they're turned towards that. So this is a top-down perspective of the boom thing happening here. And so hope you guys can make sense of my drawing here. But yeah, non-surface structure, flying over this mostly natural environment. Just to give some perspective, way out here, there was that watery area. So that watery area is over there, way out in that distance. Natural environment, non-surface structure, zap, this thing goes poof, and these people will just run that direction.
For my first visual, I'm seeing irregular topography in the urban area, harsh man-made ground, very hilly-like structures between harsh areas, wide and tall, like slim buildings. They all kind of look alike on one side, but again, there are structures that are big, like a city area. Seeing large moving structures, subjects in dark uniform, walking in formation, kind of speeding down this hill-like area. Very aggressive subjects, and just these large, bulky metallic structure. For my second visual, I'm seeing this wide structure, like a large building. There's subjects standing outside of this structure. And there's the other structures that are in the dark uniform. And I'm seeing smoke between these subjects. A feel of more aggressive energy. There's these subjects between these other subjects, and they're like in front of each other. Just a lot of madness here. This structure has been damaged. Something about this main structure is just causing a lot of attention here. You could hear like sizzling noises, like and like gas. The smell is very bad. Noises of broken glass. Lots of trouble in this area, and it's in this whole environment, in this town-like Here I have wide ground structures around this area. There's subjects on top of these structures. There's a lot of wild energy here. These subjects are in dark clothing, almost like uniform, but they're covered from head to toe, and they are very, very intense with the other subjects in this whole environment. So moving to my third visual, seeing this structure very wide, is near, but it's outside at the same time, the area. I'm seeing this wide, pretty long, man-made structure. Looks like a bridge. And it's over like this blue, fishy smell, water like area. And this bridge seems to connect to these sides of the area. I'm picking up smoke. Between this bridge, and at the very end of this bridge, there are subjects at the end on both sides of this bridge. This just seemed like in the attack from everything that's been going on, and this bridge is just it once connected, and I'm getting a breakdown, a fall.
Okay, so let's draw some conclusions from these data. February 2021 is going to be a really event-filled month. There is clearly more disruption in one or more urban areas in February. Energetics, fire, crowds, at least one non-surface structure firing on a city, explosions and gunfire, and possibly some natural event that causes some destruction in an urban area. We don't know exactly where all these things will happen, and it is possible that they may not happen at all. Remember that authorities who look at our forecasts can use the information to prevent the events from happening in the first place. So, the more widely people watch our forecasts, the more often that may happen. That is, indeed, the very reason why the U.S. military has an interest in remote viewing. If you see something in a future timeline that you don't like, you can do something to change your timeline to a different one, such that the events don't happen. It's interesting food for thought. Nonetheless, the details in these remote viewing sessions are sufficient such that we will be interested to see how things match up when the events actually occur. So join me in the month of February 2021 as we keep our eyes wide open. These are experiments in remote viewing, and we could be wrong, but our track record with the application of remote viewing is really strong. So let's wait and see what happens during the month. I'm sure we will get some things right and some things wrong, but the unique character of these forecasted events is such that we should have no trouble identifying them if and when they occur. So that is it for our February 2021 edition of Farsight's Human News, the news before it happens. Thank you for watching. Please also join us next month in March 2021 for another look into the future of Earth humans. Also, be sure to look for the new releases on FarsightPrime.com this month, including our live stream events, the Farsight ET News, the live intelligence briefing with myself, the next major mysteries release on February 15th, the Galactic Federation of Worlds, the reboot of our Time Cross show focusing on the apparition of Mary that happened in Fatima, Portugal in 1917, as well as new Farsight economic forecasts. I am Courtney Brown, Director of Farsight.